All right, good. So we look forward to getting started today with phase one. It's good. It'll be good to get the guys back on Zoom. We're going to go 2 weeks here with phase one, where the players are away from the coaches, and they'll continue on with their strength program and conditioning. A number of the guys went down to Texas to be with Pat and do some work there. So what the reason why is very similar to last year is that over the last 5 years, we played a number of games and off-season short. So I wanted to make sure we give the guys enough time for recovery, and then we'll bring them back for the phase two part, which is again in 2 weeks. We had some new additions to the coaching staff on the offensive side. So the new member is Todd Pinkston. He'll be working with the running backs. Porter Ellett will also work with him there as the assistant running back coach. And then some promotions that took place. Matt Nagy becomes the offensive coordinator. Joe Blameyer becomes pass game coordinator. And then Connor Embry will work in, excuse me, at the wide receiver spot. David Girardi, he'll work in with the quarterbacks. Dan Williams moves from the Bill Walsh position into the offensive quality control coach, quarterbacks for, again, the offensive side. And then Kevin Saxton becomes my assistant coach, and he's worked with us last year's training camp. So there'll be a nice promotion for him from the college level. And then strength coach, Ryan Reynolds. Barry Rubin retired, so Ryan Reynolds will work in as the head strength coach. Spencer Reed will be working with the team. He comes from BYU. And then Greg Carbon also will be moved up in his position as an assistant strength coach. And then Nick Cassetta will be another new addition to the weight room. So we've got four strength coaches in there like we had in the past. Other than that, the defense stays status quo with the staff members there. With that, time's yours.
Let's go first to Aaron Ladd. Go ahead, Aaron.
Hey, Coach, appreciate the time here. Hope you've been well. I know you've been doing this a long time, not an old joke, I promise you that. But in your experience, what can you learn from these off-season workouts? This kind of phase one, phase two thing. I know in the past you've let the guys kind of do their own thing for phase one. Is it a culture building? Is it a shaking off the rust? What can you gather from this time of the year?
Yeah, so phase one is good for the offense, probably more so than the defense. Defense, working with the Zoom part of it's important. Working with the strength and conditioning part is important. The offensive guys can get together and throw the ball around. You can't do that on the defensive side necessarily. So they'll get together and do that. The reason I do it, though, I mean, really is because of the time off. Give the guys, I just want them to freshen up. I mean, that season doesn't seem like it was very long ago that you're playing in the Super Bowl and having the parade and then, all of a sudden, bam, you're back into phase one. So it gives the guys an opportunity to kind of get away.
Let's go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Andy, with the draft coming up, wanted to ask you, you guys have done a nice job of drafting and developing players in later rounds in the recent years. Is there something from a coaching side of things that maybe you can point to as a reason why maybe these guys are coming along, not just coming along, but coming along quickly?
Yeah, well, since I've been here and John Dorsey started this, was he brings the guys in and they spend a ton of time together. They go like 18 straight days and in lockdown mode, and this is kind of their second go round with that. But and I'm saying all the scouts together, but I think the guys do a great job of accumulating information. Brett obviously heads all of this up and stays very disciplined with it, which is another thing. There are no shortcuts that he takes, and I think that pays off in the long run. I mean, will you have all the starters that we had this year starting? I mean, I can't say that this was a unique year, but I know that Brett does a great job of getting everybody involved, coaches involved in it, and scouts, and their opinions matter. And I think that he's able to blend all that together and then make these picks. So he's very thorough with that.
Let's go next to Vahe. Go ahead, Vahe. You got us?
Come on, Vi. Doggone it.
There you go.
Is it working now? Okay. I thought you were blocking me, Brad. Andy, good to see you. Thanks for doing this. I sort of a two-parter, really. You've had a few weeks, even months now, to kind of process what you just had happen, and I wonder if you've had any specific feeling of a different impact or meaning to winning a second Super Bowl. And I'll have a follow-up, Brad.
Yeah, I probably haven't. The one thing I think you could do is you enjoyed it this time better than you did the last time. It just kind of slowed down a little bit for you. But you're right back on it. I mean, right when we got done with the parade, I had to hire coaches. And that was a little bit longer process, especially not only with the hiring, but then moving people around and making sure that settled right. And, so there hasn't been a lot of downtime or that. We've been kind of cranking away and going. Then you're right into free agency and into the draft now. So it's been great. Have I learned anything from it? I can't tell you that anything's different other than it's a little bit shorter off season.
And well, the follow-up is really, we know you're very process driven, right? And that your motivation, I think we all can assume, is in the process a lot of times, but do you perceive any particular challenge to, for lack of a better term, motivation to avoid complacency around anybody that you're coaching? What do you see in Patrick and everybody at this stage that way?
Yeah, so I think the important thing is just the word you used was the process. I think that's most important. No shortcuts. You just nothing that's really good comes easy. We know that. There are a lot of highs and lows, or more games determined by 7 points, a score or less. So you've got to make sure that you go through the process and do the hard work and build a foundation. All those things become super important, as they are every year. So the main thing is that, though, you don't cheat that. Don't cheat the process. And so that's kind of if I'm sticking to one thing, I'd tell you it's that. I mean, I understand that. And do you have to have a few breaks here and there? Absolutely, but don't skip the work.
Let's go next to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Coach. Brad, I'll have just a second one if I could. First of all, with the receivers, you guys end up losing Juju, you lose McCole. How ready do you feel Kadarius and Sky Moore are able to pick up maybe where they left off?
Yeah, Pete, I mean, I think it's important that they continue to grow, both of them. KT now, he's not like a seasoned veteran in the league. He's still a relatively young guy and young in this offense. So growth will be important. How they handle this offseason, how they handle training camp, and that whole workload that comes with it. But I'm expecting good things from them for sure. They're wired the right way, and they just gotta keep improving and developing that relationship with Pat. And, to Vahe's question there, Pete, that Pat's been on it right from the get-go. So he's been all over it. And with the guys, with the coaches, he checks in all the time. Hey, how we doing? And free, how we doing with the draft? He's interested in that, which is unique, I think. And so he's either talking to myself or Brett all the time.
And you guys were really successful with moving Orlando and having him be the left tackle. Now that you bring in Jawan, how confident are you that he can play left tackle? What are the plans? I know it's early just as of now in that regard.
Yeah, I liked him. I liked his tape. Now we saw him firsthand a couple times too. So even though he was on the right side, I think he could transfer over to the left side. He's really a good athlete. And I think he's excited about that. And that doesn't mean he can't play the right side. I mean, if you had another left tackle, he can play the right side. So he gives you flexibility. He probably could jump in at guard, and he's smart. He probably could play center if we had to. But he's a pretty talented kid, and look forward to getting him in here. I think that was a great pickup by Brett.
Let's go next to Sarin Petro. Go ahead, Sarin.
Brad, I'll have a quick follow-up as well, if I could. Coach, you mentioned the guys going down to Texas, working and throwing. How much do you encourage that? Do you stress it, emphasize it? I know everything, you get the voluntary stage, but how much can that benefit guys from being down there?
Yeah, that's important too. I mean, it is voluntary. So, but I think it's the way Pat handles himself, to where the guys want to do it. I don't have to say a whole lot. They've actually been down there for a week with each other, and they rent a couple of homes down there and they do their thing. So I think it's a real positive thing. It's a good team builder from the wide receiver, tight ends, running backs, and quarterback position. They're able to kind of feel each other out and talk to each other. It's good to have some guys that have been through it so they can talk to the newer guys and help coach them up.
And then Coach Jalen Hurts, it was announced today, signed the largest contract per year. Pat still has the largest one for total dollars, but per year. It was out there. There's also some of the websites were putting up like the top 5 average per year. Pat's not in that. I know that's the way of the league. It happens this way all the time. But when you hear that, is that something that gets you and Brett together and talking, you two calling down to Patrick? Do you analyze where you're at with this contract and make sure you're in touch with him about, what future plans might be if there's any alterations to it?
Yeah. So listen, I'm not too involved in that part of it. We've got people that actually do that. The Brant Tillises and Chris Shays and Brett obviously overlooks that side, and Clark Hunt's very involved. So it's they always keep their eye on those things, and they understand the value of Pat, and obviously by the last contract. One crazy thing in this business, as you know, and really it's this way in every business. Right when you sign a big deal, somebody's going to beat you. I mean, it's and if you can start chasing that and kind of forget about your job at hand. But Pat's got a great feel for all that stuff, and the main thing he wanted to do, which my hat just goes off to him, is he wanted to do a deal that was team friendly, so that we could sign. If you lose a left tackle, you can go out and sign another one, and have that flexibility there. So, I think he's got a great feel on all that.
Let's go next to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, thanks, Brad. I'll have a quick follow-up too. Andy, just with the draft being in Kansas City, obviously I think for all of us on this call, it changes a lot, but for you guys in the building, I mean, does anything change just with the location of it being here?
It really doesn't. We'll be right here in the building in the draft room, so that won't change at all. I'm excited for the city. I think obviously all these people that are coming in for this are excited. They're excited to be in Kansas City. You better get the barbecue fired up and ready to go, because you have a lot of folks here.
And then the second thing I wanted to ask you, I think it's the first time we've chatted with you since the NFLPA report came out. And obviously there was some stuff in there about Rick and players felt discouraged from reporting their injuries. Just what was your takeaway from that? And is there any change in protocol and emphasis on trying to change that environment?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Sam, that was done early in the season. We had a lot of new folks in the building here, and everything kind of starts in that training room. Those are the first guys between the training room and the equipment room and weight room. Those are the first people that are going to be seen. And that training room is not leisure world, right? So that's a place that you come in and you get your rehab done. It's not, that's what it is, and that's how we do it here. And other places do it different, but we're in there to fix your problems. And if you have a problem, we'll get it taken care of. And Rick is in a position where he's got to enforce that. I mean, that's just kind of the bottom line on it. And so it's different. It's different when you get different people in, and the trainer is normally not necessarily the good guy in those situations. So it's but there's a reason why you have the training room. But we've looked at all of this. We've evaluated it. We've looked at it. We're in a position now with our facility, which also got knocked down, where there are future plans for whatever direction it goes for new facilities. And so I lived this when I was in Philadelphia. That takes time. It takes time to get all that planned out. And you're not going to take and put a whole load back into your facility that you have here if there's future plans. So, I get all of that too, right? But we've tried to keep it where it's a great place to come to work. I think we do a good job with that. I don't think we're behind necessarily, and things might not be as fancy as other places, but we normally come here to work hard. I think if you would have talked to the guys at the end of the season, they would have been probably a little different evaluation. We try to stay on top of all that, make sure we know how the guys are feeling on that.
We've got three more. We'll go next to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned about the players meeting virtually again for this phase. That's something you did last year as well. Anything else that's really you're changing up for the OTAs this year, whether it's something that you want to do differently or something that Matt Nagy has wanted to do differently?
Yeah, I wouldn't say different. It'll be the same format as we go into it. So, Matt, I'd probably tell you no. I mean, there's nothing that we've made drastic changes on. Now, we've gone through scheme evaluation, and so there are things that we'll take out and new things we'll put in and do. And Matt's a big part of that too. So.
Let's go next to Herbie Teope. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach. Good morning.
All right, Herbie.
You were talking about some of the offensive players that you signed. Defensively, there's a player there that kind of intrigues a lot of us. Linebacker Drew Tranquil. When you mentioned something about scheme evaluation, how does he fit in what you all want to do because of his starting experience? And you really seem kind of loaded at linebacker.
Yeah, so, we're glad he's on our team, first of all. We've had to face him, a couple times every year. So what we felt was this guy is a heck of a football player. He'll add great flexibility to Spags' group, which, how Spags does it with different personnel groups in. There's plenty of room for all of them. And listen, he's a good football player. He's a smart kid. He's got great size. He's got good strength. He can cover, in other words, run and cover. So we just had an opportunity to get him. I sure like the way he plays.
We'll go last to Matt McMullen. Good, Matt.
Hey, Coach. You spoke a bit about how the draft is here in a few weeks. It's not too often that the commissioner goes up and congratulates the home city of the draft for being Super Bowl champions. Just curious for your expectations for how Chiefs Kingdom is going to represent here in a few weeks of the draft.
Oh, they'll be out of control. It's right at the same place where we finished the parade, and if it's anything like that, it'll be. It looks like the second coming right there on the hill. It's unbelievable. It's a monster of people. It'd be a great deal. I think they'll represent very well, and then you're going to have all these people coming from out of town too that are just interested in the National Football League and the draft, and thus interested in when they come here to Kansas City. So I think it's great for the economy of Kansas City.
Coach, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks guys, appreciate it.